In the article, The Essence of the Wisdom of Kabbalah, Baal HaSulam writes the following, that this wisdom is the order of roots which evolve by way of cause and effect, according to absolute and predetermined laws, connecting and aiming towards one very prominent goal, which is named the revelation of His Divinity, blessed be He, to His creatures in this world. It means that we are here in this world, and there are upper roots that evolve down to this world, to us. We, in this world, can reveal this root that reaches us, and from it, we can begin to elevate in order to attain divinity. It means that this wisdom is not merely a theoretical or abstract wisdom, but it's a means, it's a tool, by which it is possible to climb up the ladder, up steps of attainment, until reaching the revelation of divinity. When is divinity revealed? It is revealed to His created beings in this world. This means that we are here living our lives as we live today, and at the same time we elevate in our internality, in our attainment, and reveal divinity. He puts it as follows: the influence of divinity on this world is permanent and absolute laws. In our world, these laws are the laws of nature. As we begin to go up the levels, we simply include all of these laws in our nature, and we begin to reveal what's hidden beyond our nature. You start to see the world is transparent. You pass with your vision and your sensation through everything that you see here, and you begin to see what's happening beyond it, the connections between occurrences, what's affecting what, why I do what I do, and what is the consequence of what I do, what feedback I receive from my actions and from my thought. They say that thought is the greatest power that man possesses, but we don't realize it and we don't feel it. In short, I'll know how I can affect the entire system here, the system of management and supervision. And I will know how it affects me in return. This teaches me how to live correctly. Because if I know that anything in my life will cause me harm, then I won't do it. My desire to receive, my ego, my bodily force won't let me do anything that would damage me or hurt me. And there's no other way to educate people. So through all of this development, a person reaches a state of despair, just as the one that humanity is in now. And this is just the beginning. It'll become worse. The only way is to open for them this management and supervision that exists here in the upper force. When a person reveals and sees, the person definitely won't fail. Once the person possesses it, once he or she knows the entire system, that will give him or her all of the external wisdom. And he or she will already know how to use them for the benefit of the world. Because our problem is that in our world we see only a fraction of the whole of reality. So the wisdom of Kabbalah is ultimately not some mysticism, but it's the most practical and essential thing for human beings. And if we don't reveal it, we'll suffer more and more. Why? The Kabbalists explain for us that the whole of evolution that we went through was only in order for us to eventually see, after all of our development, the extent to which our nature doesn't grant us a solution. We can't live a peaceful life. We can't just live a safe and normal life. We already realize it. We feel it. And that means that we begin to seemingly reject this world. We want to elevate out of it. We want to rise above it. And then it's considered that we have a real need in us. And that's called the point in the heart. We already possess this unique sixth sense that enables us to reveal the upper system, the upper world. And through it, we can reach a peaceful life. So what is this life? This life is simple. It can be explained in a simple way. Whatever we reveal in this world, we reveal through five senses. We have five such inputs, and what comes in through these five senses forms our sensation of the world. Vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch, that is overall what we have. All of these stimuli simultaneously give us such an inner sensation that we call this world. What I see, what I hear, perceive with my senses accumulates in me and gives me a sensation of the world. The wisdom of Kabbalah enables us to develop in us an additional sense, which is called soul. With this sense, I reveal what exists above this world, above the barrier. In this sense, I reveal all that's beyond this world. Beyond this world, there is a feeling and a knowing of how I exist, how I am in the state that precedes my birth, here in my body, of what happens to me after I leave this world and I leave my body. All of this becomes revealed to me, and not only revealed, but I actually feel it in a much more intense, powerful way than the way I sense this world. And then I start to identify with this large spiritual world. I virtually live in it, and in this world, I just continue living in these small senses. But my sensation is that I'm living in eternity, in wholeness, in a flow of life and energies beyond time and space. So a person, as he or she reveals the wisdom, the revelation of His divinity to His created beings in this world, this revelation of divinity, of this upper world, gives to a person the sensation of eternity. The person feels him or herself to be flowing without limits, without time, without difference between life and death. And in all the events that occur in a person's life, the person simply elevates above this world. Here there's a question. If it's such an important wisdom that everybody needs, if it's such an important wisdom that we will eventually arrive at it and begin to live according to it and through it, then why was this wisdom revealed only now? We've already learned that since we have still not given up on this world, we still haven't received a desire for this wisdom. Also, today, it's still not understood what the desire for Kabbalah is. The desire is very faint, it's small, and still only very few people are drawn to it. But there's another question. Why, then, was the wisdom of Kabbalah revealed only to the nation of Israel? If it's something that belongs to everyone, everyone suffers, we're all created beings. Besides us, 99.9% of the world's population is the nations of the world, so why wasn't the Torah given to them? This is also explained by the wisdom of Kabbalah. It explains that the universal soul, which the Creator created, is called the first man. In Kabbalah, we usually draw it not as a circle, but as a partsuf or a face. It includes within it two parts. A part that's called Galgalta V'Yanayim, and a part called a hop. Galgalta V'Yanayim is vessels of bestowal, and a hop is vessels of reception. Why does the soul include these two components? Because if it would have been included in only the vessels of reception, which are actually the entire substance of creation, then it wouldn't be possible to correct it. Because in order to correct it, you also need something external to it with which to correct it. And that's why, when the first man was created, this structure, called the universal soul, it was created in such a way that it also includes vessels of bestowal. These vessels of bestowal are called Israel, and all these vessels of reception are called nations of the world. Nations of the world. These vessels of bestowal are within the structure of the first man, not for their own sake. They didn't need existence or correction themselves. This is what Scripture says, that the Creator turned with His Torah, meaning with the light that corrects the vessels, called Torah, to the nations of the world, and submitted it to them so that they would receive it. But they couldn't receive it, because they were opposite in form to the Torah, and the Torah discusses bestowal. And these vessels are vessels of reception. And that's why later He asked all of the 70 nations of the world, which are Zat, Zayin Tachanot, 7 lower, each one of which includes 10, and that's why it is 70. After He turned to all 70 nations, the Scripture says that He turned to the nation of Israel. And at His second proposal, He gave them the Torah. They agreed. Why did they agree? Because they are vessels of bestowal, and Torah is bestowal, and there is equality of form between them, and it suits them. In truth, Israel doesn't need this world. And we can see that the nation of Israel is a very unique nation, very different from all of the others. As much as we try to be like everyone, it just doesn't work out, because that's our nature. The rest of the nations hate us, and we will soon see where it all comes from. The role of the nation of Israel, once all of this structure of the first man descends to this world, its role means that in this world there are the nations of the world, and there's the nation of Israel. The role of the nation of Israel, after all, of the desires to receive that have been revealed, until the desire for spirituality arrives, as we drew here. Corporal, bodily, money, honors, knowledge, spirituality. After the entire world, and especially Israel, reaches the desire to receive spirituality, and the wisdom of Kabbalah is revealed. Then Israel, by drawing light, called Torah, correct themselves. They perform a correction on themselves and then pass this correction on to the nations of the world as well. and this is called to be light to the Gentiles. And then both Israel and the nations of the world elevate above this world and reveal divinity. And this knowledge of divinity and the revelation of the upper world, revelation of divinity, is really for all nations, as it is written, and they shall all know me from the smallest to the greatest, meaning that eventually we all arrive, all of humanity achieves this. When the Kabbalists reveal the upper system, that upper power, they reveal that all that happens to us in this world happens only in order to bring us closer to the revelation of the upper system. Everything that happens in life, to a degree that a person begins to reveal the upper world, starts to return the person through all incarnations, all events. And everything that a person went through during dozens of incarnations in this world, and they start to see how each and every detail in all of their lives that he or she lived was only in order to accumulate bit by bit desires, contemplations, experiences in this world in such a way that at some time it would accumulate into a desire for spirituality. And that's why this wisdom was revealed. This world never disappears. This world, it's interesting, it's a very nice question. This world is called inanimate, it doesn't change. Just as our senses don't change, as our body actually doesn't change, as the inanimate, vegetative, and living in our world don't change, so does the world not change. We can reach the highest possible level in spirituality and live here in our body out of the fact that a person starts to open up the upper world, and out of the person inviting into himself the upper illumination, the person begins to sense a little, to feel a little, how much greater the fulfillments are there than those available in this world. Whoever begins to deal with this starts to feel that there are other vessels, meaning much greater desires and enormous fulfillments compared to what is available here in this world. It's very interesting, and you probably heard about this already, that we are here in this world in our vessels, and they can never be filled. Because if we have a vessel, we draw a vessel this way. If I have a vessel, meaning a desire, and I want to fill it with pleasure, as soon as the pleasure begins to enter into the desire, it already erases it. It reduces it. And to the extent that I feel the desire disappears. And we know this from food. It's very simple. I begin to eat, and the hunger disappears, and I feel less pleasure. So I need some other salty bite, and then something spicy, and something else. Then I feel sorry because there's so much more that I can't eat. And that's how it is in all of these pleasures. I may work 10 years to attain some pleasure that I've been dreaming about, I attain it, and the pleasure disappears. Where's the pleasure? Where's the pleasure I wanted so much? It's gone. Why? Because the pleasure and the vessel are opposite to each other, and so one neutralizes the other. If we acquire a spiritual vessel is called that it's really the same desire, but there exists on it now something called a screen. This screen turns the vessel into bestowal. It means that whatever I receive, I would receive only in order to bestow. What does it give me? It seems to me as if all of the work is in vain. What is it that I receive in order to bestow? If I begin to sense the Creator, who I bestow to, He has an immense vessel, infinitely more large than my vessel. And if I start to work on His vessel, how to fill His vessel, and to receive pleasure from it, then all of the light flows through me to him, and then I constantly feel development, and I'm never filled. But in our world, I need to fill myself, and then wait until I become hungry again, and then fill myself again, and so on. Here in spirituality, I constantly evolve and fill myself, and every time the appetite and the hunger and the desire keep growing, and I constantly become filled, and I really burn. I keep growing and growing and growing without stopping for a minute to enjoy, and the desire constantly gives me the possibility to attain more and more. Therefore, the way of receiving the light, the way of sensing this bounty, is called infinite life. It means, I could talk about this for years, but eventually it turns out that man has no solution for all his problems of his life. The only solutions are in the attainment of divinity. As he says, in the attainment of divinity to his created beings in this world.